We're at the point with our data warehouse where we've been loading data into our dimension tables through the SQL Server Integration Services package. So far, we've loaded data into our product tables, our batch tables, and our machine tables. And we can see how we've done that by looking at our SSIS package here. And we can see all of these tables have been run and they all have data in them. We might want to come back to SQL Server Management Studio to confirm that we have data. And so I have this SQL script. I've already run it below and you can see here, but I'm going to run it one more time just to confirm. And you can see below here at the bottom where there's data in all of these tables. And if you take a note, the first table I was taking a look at is my fact manufacturing table, which is this table right here. And notice that it's empty. So we're at the point with this project where we're going to be loading data into the fact manufacturing table. All right, so what we could do if we chose to, we can go ahead at the end of this process here, add another data flow task, and we can make this load our fact table. But we're not going to do that. In fact, what I would prefer us do is go ahead and create a new SQL Server Integration Services package, and we're going to go ahead and call that fact load. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this, and it will be called fact_load. All right, so it's going to ask me if there might be some error message, and in most part I'm going to hit yes, and yes to all. All right. Now, one thing that we want to make note of, when we come back here to the dimension table, we can see that we have some connections available, and I've already made some changes down here with our connection managers, but I have not made any changes with Batch CSV, and you wouldn't have seen me make these changes in previous videos. But what I want to do here with this Batch CSV, I want to make some additional changes before we move on to all of our other loading into our fact table. The first thing I want to do with this Batch CSV, I want to convert it to a project level connection. And so I'm going to right click on it and just say convert to project connection. Now you can see that up here in the upper right we have all of our connection managers, and they're now all at a project level. Now if you need to, go ahead and do the same thing for these as well. So do it for your accounting database and your data warehouse. Okay, and then once you complete all three, then you'll have these all listed up here at the top. But I want to make another change here with the Batch CSV, and in order to do that, I am basically going to double click on it, and it should bring up an edit menu. Okay, so here are a couple of things to take note of. On here on the left, there are some things that we've kind of ignored at the current moment because it really wasn't important when it came to loading our batch table. Because remember, in this batch CSV, that's what we ended up using. But we're going to make some changes, and I want you to go to the advanced column, and I want you to take note of something. Each one of these is actually the header field that was in the batch file. And if you notice, when you select on one of them, I'm going to select on number rejected, and right here we have the data type, and it's listed as a string. What all of these need to be, with the exception of the time, is all of these need to be some type of 4-byte signed integer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select on all of these, and I did that by holding down my control button, and I'm going to change all of them to a 4-byte signed integer. Now when you click on all of them, you'll see that they're all 4-byte signed integers. Now for the time started and the time stopped, I'm going to change these to a database timestamp, which is this one right here. Okay. So be sure to make those changes in your batch CSV and we'll just confirm it for both. All right. So that's in the advanced. So then we have columns, and then we could preview the data as well if needed. Go back to general, and I'm going to hit OK. All right. Now you'll have this little arrow that will pop up, be like, hey, look, there's something different here, and we're going to have to make some changes to that. Simply, we just go back into the module and then just verify everything is clean. It looks good, and we're just going to hit OK, and that will go away. All right. Just to confirm, I'm going to go ahead and save everything, and I'm going to hit this Save All function to do that. All right. So now I'm going to go back to my fact load table, and here's where I'm going to do some new things. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and load a new data flow task. Right, and I'm going to call this one fact load. All right, and we're going to make some edits inside this particular data flow task. Actually, I think I want to call it load fact table. There we go. And inside this, in the data flow area, we're going to load in a couple of different types of tasks. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with a flat file source. So I'm going to go to other sources, and I'm going to do a flat file source. And that flat file source is actually going to be my batch CSV file. Now, since we've created a batch CSV to be at the project level, we can simply double click on it and it should automatically be there. We'll double check the columns, make sure everything is good, and then that will be our batch CSV. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a derived column. So I'm going to click and drag a derived column over, and I'm going to connect the two using the bluish green arrow. Just going to line those suckers up a little bit. Now what we want to do in this particular case is that, coming back to our data here, is that we want to create these particular fields here, right? We want to create the accepted, the elapsed time of manufacture, and I made a mistake. It's not rejected is already in the data set, but we also want the date of manufacture. All right. So to do this, there's a little tricks that we have to do with the batch data in order to be able to create these particular fields. And we're going to get that from the batch CSV data. So I'm going to come back to SSIS, and let's take a look at the batch CSV data. We can preview it here. Now, in order to be able to get the number rejected and the number accepted, okay, we already have number rejected. We have the number produced. So the number accepted is actually the produced minus the rejected. That's pretty straightforward. Okay. In order to get the elapsed time of manufacture, we just subtract the start time from the stop time. And the difference between those two times will be the elapsed time of manufacture. And then the production date, the last thing that we can do is extract out the date here, and that will be the date of production or date of manufacture. All right. So we're going to use our derived column to be able to create all three of those values. All right. So let's go ahead and go into this. The first item that we're going to create is going to be the number accepted. So I'm going to go ahead in here and type number accepted. And this is going to be a new column, and our expression is going to be nothing more than a mathematical formula, right? And that is going to be the amount produced, which I'm going to click and drag here. I'm going to put space minus the number rejected, and that is the number accepted. Okay. Now, right now, it worked out pretty good. We have no errors. If by chance you had an error right here and it was red, you might want to go back and double check your data types in the batch file like we discussed at the beginning of this video. All right, we're going to continue the other two columns in the upcoming videos.